Dublin, the capital of Ireland, is not too far behind London in terms of galleries, libraries and museums. Two libraries in Dublin are world famous. Just as famous is the British Museum in London. One is the Long Room Library in 16th century Trinity College, and the other is the Chester Beatty Library, nestled in the grounds of Dublin Castle.
We're here in this magnificent park in the grounds of Dublin Castle, and just behind me you can see the entrance of the prestigious Chester Beatty Library, one of the most important cultural attractions here in Dublin. Today we had the honour of interviewing its keeper, Miss Fionnuala Croke, who will talk a bit about the history of the place and its importance. So thank you for having us here, and this place is magnificent. And it was once a private collection of an American magnate. Could you a bit tell about him and the story of this place?
So what we house here in the Chester Beatty Library was once the private library of Sir Alfred Chester Beatty, or as he was commonly called, Chester Beatty. But today we function really as a museum. We're one of the Irish national cultural institutions, and it's a really dynamic and vibrant space and place. We're getting almost 400,000 visitors a year today.
That's and how long has this been a museum?
Well, when Chester Beatty died 50 years ago this year, so in fact we're celebrating 50 years of what says, this wonderful, magnificent gift of his remarkable collections to the Irish nation. So when he died, he left in his will for a trust to be established that would look after the collection for the benefit of the Irish people, as he said himself.
And how is the library structured? So what are the highlights and things that people shouldn't miss?
So in his lifetime, Chester Beatty had assembled what was regarded as probably the finest private collection of its type. So what we have are mainly manuscripts, rare books and decorative arts from right across the Western world, from the Islamic world, North Africa, and right through Asia. So it really is, his focus was always on quality and rarity. Is that in Ireland it's the only museum with a focus on our global artistic heritage.
Interesting. And so I can see the man himself there, and that's a nice picture. Can you tell me a bit the story of that picture, which is interesting?
It's a great story, and I really feel an introduction to the Chester Beatty collections really needs to start with the story of Chester Beatty. It's quite it's quite a diverse, romantic kind of a story, because in his lifetime, born in 1875, and he lived right the way through to 1968. He covered, major world events in that time. So when he graduated as a mining engineer from Columbia School of Mines in 1898, he made his way to the west, to the western states, to Colorado in fact. And he started life there as at the very bottom rank in the mines, he on $2 a day for a 10-hour shift as a mucker mucking out the mines. But of course he was very well educated and very bright and very ambitious, and he quickly made his way up to becoming a supervisor and then a manager of many mines. His big break came when he when he went to work for the Guggenheim family. They had an exploration company called Guggenex. And from 1903 to 1907 he worked for them, and he was travelling the length and breadth of the North America, really. And he made his first great fortune at that time. And he also started collecting at that time. We know when he was living in New York by 1907, he was collecting Japanese netsuke and Inro, Chinese snuff bottles, probably Western illuminated manuscripts. We can't be too sure exactly what he had at that early stage.
I understand.
With the move to London in 1913, we begin what might be called the second phase of Chester Beatty's life, because he remained with London as his primary residence right through to 1950. And during that period, from 1913 right through to 1950, he assembled the majority of this magnificent collection. And as his collecting became more sophisticated, and as his fortune grew and he was able to buy more material, his network of agents and advisors also grew, but he always made the final decision himself. So he assembled, a wonderful collection from the Islamic world,
We have Qurans from Spain right through across to China. While he started collecting from 1917, he visited China and Japan. He started collecting material from there. But as the decades passed, he started his collecting further down into Southeast Asia.
And what about Ireland?
So in 1950, Chester Beatty entered what I might call the third phase of his life, when he upstakes, lock, stock and barrel.
And at the age of 75 moved to Ireland. And of course everybody wants to know what made him move to Ireland. Well, there were many reasons. He had been an advisor to Churchill during the Second World War. And he was rather taken aback, shocked even, when the Labour government came to power after the Second World War. And he spoke about this in 1950 when he felt that the Labour government's policies were going to really prohibit any new enterprise in the mining industry. So that was one reason. But of course any decision like that is made up of many reasons. And his father's parents were both Irish. And his son, Chester Jr., had bought a house here in County Kildare in the 1940s. And Beatty had been visiting Ireland to visit his son. And he really fell in love with the country. He loved it. So for many reasons, he moved here in 1950. He bought a house on Aylesbury Road, and he bought a site around the corner on Shrewsbury Road where he built his own library, which opened in 1953. In the year 2000, the library moved here to its current site in the grounds of Dublin Castle. And so the change in location has brought us, let's say, even closer to the people of Dublin. We're sort of nestled in the city centre.
Here we have the Evangelarium of Santa Justina, dating to 1523. It was commissioned by the abbot of Santa Justina in Padua, with Benedetto Bordon was the artist commissioned to paint these wonderful miniatures. So in the collection we have over 250 partial or complete Qurans, from right across the Islamic world. And I particularly, these are on display at the moment, and I'm really very fond of these two 18th century Chinese Qurans. This area displays items, artifacts that represent Buddhism and the introduction of Buddhism to China and to Japan. So Marta, we're here now in front of a 15th century Quran, a Persian Quran. So you see the text is in Arabic. However, in the central panel, if you look, you have the golden text in beautiful gold script, and underneath, written in red, is the Persian translation. What's also unusual here is that in the margins, right around the sides, this is a Persian commentary on the Quran. So Marta, here we have another very beautiful Italian manuscript. This book is the Thebaid of Statius, so Statius being the 1st century poet, and what it holds is the text of the 12 books of the Thebaid saga, the saga of the Theban brothers. And this one dates to about 1380. Obviously the calligraphy is very beautiful, but really what it's noted